Uncle Deadly's a very interesting case within the Muppets, a character who's much more well known and remembered for his modern interpretation and performance compared to how he first started out. Over the past 10 years, the character of Uncle Deadly has been going through a massive renaissance and overhaul, and has made his way as one of the most prominent Muppet characters in recent years. But how did we get here? Well, that's what we're going to go through today. Hello everybody, and welcome back to Mupptober. For our finale episode today, we're going to be going through the full history of Uncle Deadly, the Phantom of the Muppet Theater. Uncle Deadly's first ever appearance was, fittingly, in the Muppet Show's Halloween special, Season 1, Episode 19, which guest starred Vincent Price. In the episode, Uncle Deadly appears in two separate sketches, acting as an assistant and sidekick to Vincent Price. The first of these is the House of Horrors sketch, where Fozzie and Gonzo have rented out a cabin when Vincent Price, playing someone who seems to be a vampire, comes in, hoping to find a place to stay.
I am traveling with my beautiful assistant and a hideously deformed monster.
Oh, hideously deformed is right.
Watch it. I'm the beautiful assistant.
Right off the bat, Uncle Deadly's voice, performed by Jerry Nelson, is very suave and theatrical, and just very much not what you would expect to come out of something that looks like this, which of course is a big part of the comedy. Deadly would appear once more in the show's closing number, You've Got a Friend, singing alongside Price. In this episode, Uncle Deadly isn't named, he's just a background monster character to appear alongside Vincent Price. But only 2 episodes later, in the Twiggy episode, we would learn quite a bit about him. All throughout this episode, several Muppets keep coming to Kermit freaking out. Scooter, Wanda, Hilda, Gonzo, and Fozzie all claim to have seen a phantom in the Muppet Theater. Naturally, Kermit doesn't believe them, but we're quickly shown that the frog is in the wrong.
What fools these Muppets be.
The rest of the gang is finally able to convince Kermit when the phantom shows up right behind him. In the next scene, Kermit is just as terrified as everyone else when the Phantom of the Muppet Theater begins to creep in.
Who are you? I am Uncle Deadly, better known as the Phantom of the Muppet Show.
It's clear from the very beginning that the Phantom of the Muppet Theater is quite the actor and also quite the scene stealer. He introduces himself as Uncle Deadly, and reveals that he used to perform in the Muppet Theater. He performed Hamlet as well as Othello.
At opening night, I was killed.
I'm very sorry to hear that. Who killed you?
The critics.
He vowed to never perform at the Muppet Theater again, and to not let anyone else perform at the theater again. He threatens Kermit to leave or they're all doomed.
Leave or be doomed? I don't think I like those options.
After this scene, Kermit finds all of the Muppets that were freaking out earlier relieved, as it turns out that George the janitor had just found an old mask and was pranking all of them pretending to be a phantom. But, as you'd probably expect, we have a double plot twist, as it's revealed that the phantom Kermit saw was very much real. When Kermit comes to say goodbye to the guest star Twiggy, Uncle Deadly comes out instead, seeing all of this as a big performance of his. As the Muppets take their bows, so too does Uncle Deadly. Now is probably as good a time as ever to ask the question, what is Uncle Deadly supposed to be? Early concept art by Michael Frith depicts him to be a gargoyle. The episode, of course, states that he's a phantom, but it's implied that he's not really dead and he was just, poorly critically received when he played Othello. That's the whole killed by the critics joke. Some sources have stated him to be a dragon-like creature, which makes sense especially after you see his face shape and his rarely seen tail, but I think the correct answer is that he's simply an abstract Muppet monster. Despite his significance in this episode, Deadly would quickly be relegated to the background, having 1 more background appearance in Season 1 and 4 background appearances in Season 2. In Season 3, Deadly became a featured player in a new recurring series of Muppet Show sketches, the Muppet Melodrama. In each of these sketches, Deadly would play an over-the-top villain who gets booed at by the audience, who always puts Miss Piggy in some sort of situation of peril. Piggy awaits her hero, Wayne, to come save her, but when Wayne shows up, he always ends up getting distracted by whatever Uncle Deadly is doing, and the two end up bonding, completely forgetting about Piggy in the process, and leaving her in an even worse state than she started in. In the sketch's first appearance in Season 3, Episode 4, Piggy's hanging off of a ledge. When Wayne's about to save her, he notices Uncle Deadly's shoes, and realizes he recognizes him from a dance performance. Uncle Deadly starts teaching Wayne how to dance, and Wayne eventually knocks Piggy off the cliff by accident. In the sketch's second appearance in Season 3, Episode 6, Deadly literally ties Piggy to a railroad track. Wayne is impressed by the knot that he used, recognizing it from Boy Scouts. The two begin to bond over their past Boy Scout experience, but Wayne reveals that Deadly actually did the knot wrong, and he ties it even tighter right as the train is about to come for Piggy. Don't worry though, she gets away just fine. After only these two appearances, the Muppet melodrama sketch did not return. And while I do think it was a pretty funny parody of classic hero and villain stories where the hero is so inept that he just ends up being friends with the villain who is also just completely inept, I kinda get why it didn't go past two sketches. There's really not that much mileage you could get out of it. After one blink and you'll miss it cameo in the intro of Season 3, Episode 8, Uncle Deadly did not appear again for the rest of the Muppet Show. The character wasn't gone, though, as in 1979, to promote the Muppet movie, Kermit took over The Tonight Show. One of the guests on the show was Vincent Price, and during Price's segment with Kermit and Fozzie, he was reunited with Uncle Deadly.
Oh, you laughed, master.
Perhaps you remember that's Uncle Deadly. He worked with you on the Muppet Show.
Uncle Deadly's.
I've missed you so.
Thank you.
I just absolutely love the continuity here. It's so fun to see. Uncle Deadly's return to being Vincent Price's assistant here made them sort of drop his struggling actor persona that was established after this episode, and he just sort of reverts to how we saw him in the House of Horrors sketch. Over the next few decades, Uncle Deadly's appearances would become very sparse and very minor. In 1979, he was part of the Muppet movie's Rainbow Connection finale, and he wouldn't appear again until 1984's Muppets Take Manhattan, again in the background of the finale. 2 years after that, in '86, he would appear in the crowd of the Muppets A Celebration of 30 Years, and 4 years after that, in 1990, he would appear in the intro of the Muppets at Walt Disney World. See, when I said background appearances, I really meant it. Following this, Uncle Deadly would not return for 21 years, but there were still references to him and attempts to bring him back. In 2000, a cancelled Muppet Halloween special was adapted into a PS1 game called The Muppet Monster Adventure. Uncle Deadly did not appear in the game, but he did appear in a promo image alongside Robin and a ghost. Just a few months later, in a December 2000 interview, Muppet writer Kirk Thatcher revealed that he was working on a brand new Muppet series entitled Uncle Deadly's House of Badness. This series was a horror comedy anthology series, akin to something like Goosebumps, and while nothing is known about the show, and we don't even know if a script was completed, it can be assumed that Uncle Deadly would probably take on a Crypt Keeper-style host role. This, no doubt, would be Uncle Deadly's biggest role ever at the time, and it would come a full decade before the character went through a renaissance. Speaking of which, Uncle Deadly made his grand return in 2011's The Muppets as one of the henchmen to the villain Tex Richman alongside Bobo the Bear. For this, Uncle Deadly was rebuilt and given a new performer, Matt Vogel. Vogel's performance of Uncle Deadly drops a lot of the graveliness that Jerry Nelson had in his, really doubling down on the smooth, suave, English-accented Deadly. In my opinion, it's a pretty big improvement over Jerry Nelson's original voice, and allows for the character to be even funnier than he was before. The performance is great. I honestly think Uncle Deadly is my favorite character that Matt Vogel performs. At the end of the movie, Uncle Deadly decides to fully embrace his identity as a Muppet and turn against Tex Richman.
Enough! Just because I have a terrifying name and an evil English accent does not preclude the fact that in my my heart, I am a Muppet.
Despite his major role in this movie, Uncle Deadly would have just a cameo in its sequel, Muppets Most Wanted, where he would be seen playing the piano at Piggy and Constantine's wedding alongside Bobo. But a year later, the Muppets' new TV outing on ABC would fully reinvent Uncle Deadly and make him a more prominent character than ever before. In ABC's The Muppets, Uncle Deadly was reinvented as Miss Piggy's wardrobe assistant, helping her get in and out of outfits and choose her clothes. While that was his official job, he acted more so as a general assistant to Piggy, helping her out with anything that she may need all throughout the series. Whether or not he wants to work for her is another story.
Can you give us a minute, Dudley?
Kermit, you seem to be under the false impression that I want to be in this room. You don't know me. No one does.
While Uncle Deadly never really had any plots that focused on him, he was always around to help out Piggy or interact with other characters, and the series provided a wide variety of great snarky comments from him.
I was fitting Piggy for a new dress.
Oh, no, you forgot to cut out the tag. She knows her size.
No, please. I've woven such a cocoon of lies. She doesn't know her size, weight, or even how old she is.
Fozzie's girlfriend broke up with him, and he's too upset to do the show.
Ugh, women. Ugh, men.
One episode that puts a bit more focus on Deadly is Season 1, Episode 13, Got Silk. In this episode, Piggy realizes that she basically has no friends, because this is the ABC Muppet Show version of Piggy, which is just really mean to everyone. But this episode was a big step in trying to fix her character. Piggy asks Janice how she has so many friends, and Janice says that she meets a lot of people at an aerial contortion class, which Piggy proceeds to go to, but she struggles to relate with anyone who's there. Realizing that the situation is bombing, Uncle Deadly fakes a phone call to get Piggy out of it.
What's that? You need Miss Piggy to come back because she's indispensable? But this is her personal time. What is your name? Jeremy what? Well, Jeremy Rosenstein, you've made a very powerful enemy.
This episode really puts a focus on just how much Deadly cares for Piggy, how he's so much more than an assistant, how maybe, just maybe, Piggy does have a friend, but doesn't realize it.
Well, perhaps you already have that friend that you're looking for, someone who is always there, looking out for you, because he accepts you just as you are.
Huh?
Someone standing right in front of you.
Sweetums? I can't be friends with him. He lives way out in Garden Grove.
A running joke throughout this episode is that Uncle Deadly's been struggling with a community theater production of the movie Clueless, which nobody's been showing up to, and the lead actress quit, causing Deadly to step in for her. At the end of the episode, when everything's finally clicked for Piggy, she shows Deadly just how much she cares about him by coming to his production and inviting the rest of the Muppets. Following the ABC show, Uncle Deadly has appeared in nearly every piece of Muppet media. While the show may have only lasted one season, how it improved Uncle Deadly's character and brought him to more prominence did not go away afterwards. And since he's had so many appearances since, I'm going to stop listing off every individual appearance of his and just go over some of the most notable ones. Just know that if the Muppets have done something in the past 8 years since 2015, Deadly's probably been there. Uncle Deadly was the host of every episode of the Muppets Thought of the Week YouTube series, introducing each of them. Uncle Deadly has reprised, or rather continued, his role as Miss Piggy's assistant in a few different places, including the Muppet live shows from 2017 and 2018. He's appeared in several holiday greeting videos for the Muppets YouTube channel, usually for Halloween, of course. In the second season of the Muppet Babies reboot, an image of baby Uncle Deadly was placed on the wall of the playroom. Baby Uncle Deadly, who you may very well mistake for Figment from Epcot, is seen in Shakespearean attire speaking to a letter B. In 2019, Uncle Deadly was a special surprise guest at none other than D23 Expo. Matt Vogel was already there performing Kermit, who was hosting a Disney animation panel, and so Uncle Deadly was brought on as a special guest for the Haunted Mansion 50th Anniversary panel.
Now, Uncle Deadly, when's the last time you were at the Haunted Mansion?
Oh, well, I the Haunted Mansion every Tuesday and Thursday. I take the weekends off.
Uncle Deadly was the perfect choice to play the ghost host in a dramatic reading of an early script of the attraction, and he even got his very own Disneyland employee badge, which revealed that he was from Borehamwood, England. Borehamwood, for the record, was where the Muppet Show was filmed. In 2020's Muppets Now, Uncle Deadly once again reprised his role as Miss Piggy's assistant, frequently appearing in her segments in each episode, as well as an interview with Miss Piggy and Aubrey Plaza.
Now, I've just said something funny. Yes, not that funny. Maybe just a little less funny. She's not that funny.
He also appeared in a Muppet Masters sketch, where Walter revealed that Uncle Deadly was a master at stage combat, and Deadly attempted to teach Walter how to stage fight. In 2021's Muppets Haunted Mansion, Uncle Deadly is surprisingly absent throughout most of the special. That is, until the end, when he pops up as the wedding officiant for Pepe the King Prawn and Constance Hatchaway the bride.
Here we go again. 6 times the charm, they say.
In 2022, Deadly appeared alongside several other Muppets on their guest appearance for ABC's mini golf competition show Holy Moly. Currently, Uncle Deadly's most recent appearance was as a special guest at this year's Destination D23, a Disney Live event where they made several announcements about the Disney parks, and several Muppet characters appeared to host different segments. Uncle Deadly was once again put in charge of the Haunted Mansion section, where he announced some new changes to the ride. Now that we've taken, a very long time going over all of Uncle Deadly's prominent appearances, let's go over his appearances in outside media, such as books and merchandise. Uncle Deadly has been included in a multitude of books over the years, including some from the time of The Muppet Show and some more recent ones. But probably Uncle Deadly's most notable book appearance was in 2017's Muppets Meet the Classics, The Phantom of the Opera. You'll never guess what character Uncle Deadly played. Uncle Deadly's been included in quite a few pieces of merchandise over the years. In the 70s, he was a card in the Germany Muppet Show Black Pete card game. Uncle Deadly was planned to be a part of Palisades Toys' 10th wave of Muppet action figures in the early 2000s. However, the company went under before this could happen, and all of Wave 10 was cancelled, with the exception of Uncle Deadly, who still managed to be released as an online exclusive to the website omgcnfo.com. At the time, the only appearance of Deadly's feet was in a Muppet melodrama sketch, but instead of using the boots he wore there, the Palisades designers based his lower half off of an appearance from a 1979 Muppet comic. This has become the definitive look for Uncle Deadly's full body since. For accessories, Uncle Deadly came with the standard Palisades figure stand, as well as 2 spooky pack-in figures, the iconic Muppet Show Ghost, making its first and only appearance in the Palisades toy line, and what the box labels as Muppet Skull, who had previously played the role of Yorick in a Hamlet sketch in the Christopher Reeve episode of The Muppet Show. Also exclusive to the same website as the original figure were 2 additional repaints, a pretty standard practice in the Palisades Muppets line. The first was labeled as Uncle Deadly's Steppin' Out variant. Stepping Out variants were fairly common in the Palisades Muppet line, where they would take a male character and give them a tuxedo. Uncle Deadly, who was already wearing a tuxedo, was simply repainted in some more snazzy colors, and there you go, now you have his Stepping Out variant. For this release, the skull and ghost were remolded in clear plastic. Deadly's other repaint was a glow-in-the-dark variant, which included glow-in-the-dark versions of his accessories. Prototype images also exist online for a clear variant of Uncle Deadly. It's unknown if this was going to be an additional 4th variant of Uncle Deadly, or if it was replaced by one of the ones we actually got. Maybe it was replaced by the Stepping Out variant, considering all of his accessories were clear. There's also a prototype for a black and white variant, which I assume was later replaced by the glow-in-the-dark one, as they too are very similar. In the early 2010s, a line of Muppet figures based on Star Wars characters were released exclusively at the Disney parks, and Uncle Deadly played the role of Emperor Palpatine. In 2013, Uncle Deadly was released as part of Series 3 of the Muppet Vinylmations. In 2021, he appeared on a massive $50 pin for Muppet's Haunted Mansion alongside all of the husband characters. And finally, in 2023 at San Diego Comic-Con, Diamond Select Toys revealed that they would be making an Uncle Deadly action figure. Packed alongside Pepe the King Prawn, the two are set for a summer 2024 release. And there you have it, the full history of Uncle Deadly from his debut to today. Truly one of the most interesting cases in the Muppets roster. Uncle Deadly started off small, but has become one of the most prominent Muppet players in recent years. I gotta say, I really like what they've done with him recently, and it goes to show that any character who may not be that significant, with a little bit of retooling, can become the next big thing. Anyway guys, thank you all so much for watching. I'm sorry that it took so long to get this Halloween special out, but this was the biggest project I've ever done. I'm very excited for what else is coming out later on this month and through to the end of the year. So stick around, subscribe if you're new. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye now.